Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do a comparison video of the two most hyped smartphones of 2024, the Vivo X200 Pro and the Oppo Find X8 Pro. So let's talk about the design aspects of the two phones. The Vivo X200 Pro has a matte glass finish in its back and has a circular camera module in the back. The flashlight is on the top right of the phone, and there is a Vivo logo engraved in metal in the center bottom of the phone. The sides of the phone has a brushed aluminum finish, and the phone has rounded corners, so it is very ergonomic in your palms. On the right side of your phone, you will find your volume rocker and the power button. The selfie camera is a hole punch in the top center of the display. On the bottom side, you will find your speakers, a USB-C 3.2 port, and your SIM ejector tray. The phone indeed feels very premium to hold, and the large camera module actually works as a resting position on your index finger. So that's basically the design aspect of the Vivo X200 Pro. Now let's take a look at the Oppo Find X8 Pro. The Find X8 Pro also has a matte glass finish on the back side and also has a circular camera module in the center. There is also the Oppo logo engraved in metal in the center bottom position of the phone. On the right side of the phone, you will find your volume rocker and the power button, but there is also an additional shutter button which can be soft touched to open the camera app and also take photos with it. On the left side of the phone, there is the classic OnePlus ring and vibrate slider, which is a very convenient feature to have. The phone also has rounded corners and is also very ergonomic to hold in your palms. The index finger rest position is slightly better on the Oppo than on the Vivo, and overall I find it that Oppo has a slicker design compared to the Vivo. When both phones are left flat on the surface, the Vivo is slightly more slanted due to the larger camera module. Overall, the Find X8 Pro's design has impressed me, and I have decided to give my points to the Oppo over the Vivo for the design aspect. Now let's talk about the displays of the phones. The Vivo X200 Pro comes in a full HD Plus resolution display and has an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner in the bottom center of the screen. The display is also slightly curved around the edges, but it is only micro curved, so it is barely noticeable. So when you go to the settings and you go to screen resolution, you will see there are two options. One of the options is for power saving and it reduces your screen resolution, and the other is for higher resolution, which consumes more power but gives you a crisper, more detailed display resolution. The Oppo Find X8 Pro also has a Full HD Plus display and has a fingerprint scanner in the bottom of the screen, but this is not an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, it is a regular one. So when you go to your settings and you go to screen resolution, you'll see that there are also two options for screen resolution. One is for power saving and one is for a higher display resolution. I mainly use it on higher display resolution because of the crispier image that I get from it. So both phones have micro-curved displays and both phones have LTPO AMOLED displays. That means it has a variable refresh rate of 1 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz and can consume less power when necessary. Both phones have very similar displays, and therefore I have decided to give 0.5 points to each of the phones. Now let's talk about the software of the two different phones. By software I mean the user interface. And when it comes to the Vivo X200 Pro, the global version uses FunTouch OS 15, which is based on Android 15. But the Chinese variant of the Vivo X200 Pro has its own makeover, which is Origin OS, which is also based on Android 15. I'm using the latest version of FunTouch OS 15 right now in this Vivo X200 Pro. So far, the updates have been regular, and FunTouch OS is a promising operating system, but I think it needs to be a little more captivating to impress me really over the Color OS, which I'll talk about later in this video. The customization of the FunTouch OS user interface is fairly good, but it is not as good as the likes of Color OS or Oxygen OS or even the Xiaomi Hyper OS. So I would say the customization is fairly good, but not up to the mark. Now let's talk about the Color OS on the Find X8 Pro. The Color OS 15 is also based on Android 15 and is highly customizable. The settings that you have in this operating system is very good. It has slight aspects of iOS, and the app transitions are very smooth and very buttery. The control center design is slightly derived from iOS devices, from the iPhones. You can see that the brightness and the ringer slider is slightly similar to the iOS devices, and the notifications and center is also kind of similar to iOS devices. There is also a notch which is kind of similar to the dynamic island you find on iPhones. So when you play a song on Spotify, you can press the notch and it will display the controls for your Spotify player and the songs that are being played. So overall, I think Color OS 15 is a very good UI indeed, and it is much better than FunTouch OS 15. It is highly customizable, and I think I would have to give my points to the Oppo for its operating system and software. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cameras. The cameras are the most intriguing part of these two devices. The Vivo X200 Pro has a triple camera setup system, one periscope 200 megapixel lens, 50 megapixel wide lens and 50 megapixel ultra wide lens. And that is the camera setup of the Vivo X200 Pro. Now let's talk about the camera system on the Oppo Find X8 Pro. The Find X8 Pro has a quad camera setup, a wide 50 megapixel lens, an ultra wide 50 megapixel lens, one periscope 50 megapixel lens at 3 times zoom and one periscope telephoto lens at 6 times zoom. So that's a quad camera setup in the Find X8 Pro. Vivo X200 Pro has partnered up with Zeiss Optics for their color calibration and their optimization of photos and videos, while Find X8 Pro has done a similar thing but with a different company called Hasselblad. Hasselblad has been color calibrating their images and photo processing their images for a long time now, and they are also doing it for their OnePlus devices. So the color calibration on both these devices are top-notch. But I have decided to give my points to the Vivo X200 Pro mainly because of their 200 megapixel telephoto zoom lens and because of the color accuracy by Zeiss Optics. Now let's talk about the battery system of these two devices. Both of them use the same technology, which is silicon carbon battery system, and both of them have large capacity batteries. Vivo X200 Pro has 6000 mAh battery, giving you almost 13 hours of screen on time, while the Find X8 Pro has a 5910 mAh battery, giving you 11.5 hours of screen on time. So I have decided to give my points to the larger battery capacity Vivo X200 Pro because it gives you almost 13 hours. So yeah, the battery system of the Vivo is unbeatable at the moment. Now let's talk about the charging speeds of these two devices. The Vivo X200 Pro and Find X8 Pro both come with charging bricks in their box. The Vivo X200 Pro, having 90 watts of wired charging, which is called flash charge, gives you a charging speed of 90 watts and charges your phone from 0 to 100 very quickly. The Find X8 Pro, not having 90 watts but instead having 80 watts of wired charging, also gives you a fast charging experience and charges from 0 to 100 in a very short time. Both have the bricks coming inside the box and both have Type A to Type C ports. Now both these devices are capable of wireless charging, but the Vivo X200 Pro has less wattage of wireless charging. The Vivo X200 Pro gives you 30-watt wireless charging experience and 10 watts of wired reverse charging experience. The Find X8 Pro has a 50-watt wireless charging experience and gives you also 10 watts wireless charging experience. So in this category, I would choose the Oppo Find X8 Pro just because of its versatility. So I have decided to give my points to the Find X8 Pro because of its 80-watt wired charging, 50 watts wireless charging and 10 watts wireless reverse charging. So my points goes to the Oppo. Now both these devices have a durability and IP rating of IP68 and IP69 dust and water resistance. The Vivo X200 Pro and Find X8 Pro, when sprayed with water, will do no damage to it, and you can spray high pressure jets of water and still have no damage done to it. The glass is also very strong with Gorilla Glass in the Find X8 Pro and Vivo's own sort of stronger glass, which they called it armor glass, which makes it very durable as well. So I'm giving both my points, 0.5 points to each of these devices in this category. Now let's talk about the performance of these two devices. Both of the devices, the Find X8 Pro and the Vivo X200 Pro, uses the same MediaTek Dimensity 9400 chip. That means both perform exactly similarly under stressful conditions. However, in real life conditions, I have found that to be a bit different. So I have done 3D Mark wildlife extreme tests on both these devices, and I found that the Oppo Find X8 Pro actually scores a much higher point than the Vivo X200 Pro. I will show you the scores in a moment. So let me just open up 3D Mark app on my Vivo X200 Pro, and as you can see, the score that I got was 6024 points for wildlife extreme test. That is a very good score indeed, but having the same chip on the Find X8 Pro, when I open up 3D Mark, you can see that the score on the Find X8 Pro is actually higher than that of the Vivo. So that means real life tests are very different from actual theoretical paper tests. So since the performance in real life is better on the Oppo, I would have to give my points to the Oppo in this category. Now let's check out the speaker audio quality of these two devices.
How did I get here? Trying to get both of my feet back on the ground.
Audio quality is actually subjective from people to people, but if I have to give my own opinion on it, I would have to say that the Oppo does a better job at speaker quality. It has a more punchier tone to it and gives off a little more bass than the Vivo can provide. So in the audio quality category, I would have to give the points to the Oppo Find X8 Pro. Now let's see some photo samples from the two devices. In the first photo, we see that the scenery is well balanced with HDR and it's not over sharpened like the one in the Oppo. The Oppo tends to over sharpen the photos. And in the next portrait shots, we see that the Vivo has some natural sharpening to it, and while the Oppo does some bit of over sharpening to the portrait shots. So I have to give my points to the Vivo X200 Pro in this category. Now let's take a look at some video footage from the two devices. I'm going to climb down the stairs and you can judge for yourself the image video stabilization in that process. So I'm now going down the stairs. The video seems very stable to me, at least where I'm seeing it in the screen. The video seems quite stable. Let's go outside for a bit and check out the HDR performance of this video, Vivo X200 Pro. Let's try to go a little bit further that way, where the sun is. It captures this focus very nicely, and I think it does a great job at doing video recording. So now let's try the same thing with the Oppo. Now we're going to be testing the same thing with the Oppo Find X8 Pro. I'm going to go down the stairs and you can check the stabilization. It seems to me this is also very stable. There is no movement in the camera. Let's now go outside and check out how it controls HDR. Let's take it to the sun, towards the sun. Handles focus very well. So while I'm recording, you actually can justify the audio quality of the microphone in both the phones. So I have decided to give my points to the Vivo X200 Pro because the Oppo Find X8 Pro sharpens the video quality way too much. So now let's check some night mode shots. Here I have given the points to the Vivo X200 Pro as well because it captures more details than the Oppo Find X8 Pro. Let's now take a look at some of the extra features that both these phones offer. So the Vivo X200 Pro has an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, while the Find X8 Pro has an in-display regular fingerprint scanner. The ultrasonic fingerprint scanner is much more secure and faster than the Find X8 Pro's in-display fingerprint scanner. The placement of the fingerprint scanner on the Vivo X200 Pro is also ergonomic and most people find it useful to be there. But the Find X8 Pro has a fingerprint scanner placed at the very bottom of the screen, which is very inconvenient for some people. Then there is the shutter button that I already mentioned earlier. The shutter button doesn't exist in the Vivo X200 Pro, but in the Find X8 Pro there is a shutter button and also a vibrate to ring to silent slider on the left hand side. The shutter button, I don't think it's much of a use because it's more of a gimmick. People would normally choose to use their screen to take photos and not use the shutter button at all, so I don't think it's an extra feature worth of mentioning. Now let's talk about the software upgrades that both these devices offer. The Oppo Find X8 Pro offers 5 years of software updates, and that is a huge deal for some of the customers that are going to use the phone for a very long time, while the Vivo offers for only 4 years. So that is a bonus for the Oppo. But in the end, I have to give my points to the Vivo because of the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, which is a very big deal, especially at this price point, and you can't have an in-display regular fingerprint scanner like the one that Oppo does. So my point goes to the Vivo in this miscellaneous category. So the winner of my comparison video is the Vivo X200 Pro. I hope you all enjoyed watching this comparison video. A sub to the channel would be much appreciated. My name is Sadman, you are watching Gamma Crush, and I'll see you in the next video.